I mean, the news could have anything as long as people it's kind of like movies. Like we had a conversation about how when people make movies, they they might do something like super violent or something, and then they might have this idea that it doesn't matter because it's just a movie and it's not actually people aren't actually gonna go out and kill people because it's a movie, which is diminishing the value in their message and saying like
what I do doesn't matter.
Anything I put in this movie doesn't actually affect anything, and so my art form means nothing. But in a similar way, it's like people on the news, they're believing or not believing, whatever, they're putting something on the news, and it's like they're doing it with all this enthusiasm to like create some sort of, this is important, but they don't, maybe, they either know or don't know, but it's like it wouldn't actually matter if people didn't believe it. But because the audience can fall into actually thinking that because it's like a real station, like it's telling something, it's supposed to be telling like truth, but
that's why it's called authorship and authority.
Yeah.
Like if somebody makes an art form and puts it out there somewhere, it's the same way of like nobody listens to someone until they
produce a book.
Yeah, like so many people. It's like they know what they're talking about when it comes to something, like some specific topic, but it doesn't really matter. And then they suddenly publish like even a pamphlet, a small little book about that topic that is good. And now it's like author of something is, and everybody just, they have authority on their speaking matter because they published a book. It's material in the world. And it's like, naturally, if you do the same with any kind of like fictional material on art, it has the same effect, but effect more like it's a catalyst for people to reflect upon. And if you have people who are not reflecting upon things because everything's just thrown around or whatever, they just see things, and instead of it being a catalyst for growth, it's a catalyst for perpetuating that same its meaninglessness. If that makes sense. That might have got a little complicated.
Yeah, I think it's
like if there's a bunch of things, there's like 10 movies come out, and everybody's treating them like, it doesn't matter, then an audience is going to be like, it doesn't matter, and just watch it all the time. So they're not cultivating the ability and to be aware and equanimous and reflect at all upon the things that they are interacting with. So then when somebody does put something out there that is intended for them to interact with and that it does matter, they don't have the ability to look upon it. So for those 10 pieces of garbage that people threw out and like, because it doesn't matter, whatever, and they're just perpetuating things, the person sees those 10 and then perpetuates that, and then that one thing that is like different and stands out and can be a vessel for change, they see it and they go, that's unique. Like Uncle Iroh, he's a unique character when he's like the most generic thing ever. And it's just like, it's a standout unique thing. It's like, because nobody's doing it, everybody's doing like the grizzled angry person instead. And like they get desensitized, and desensitized is the wrong word, just more, they just don't have the developed capacity. They haven't developed the skills to work with that capacity that a person does have to reflect upon things. So they just have no skill with the mind, because why would you need a skill when every movie coming at you is kind of perpetuating the same thing?
Telling
like,
you no it's okay to be unskilled.
Yeah, like there's no reason for you to develop that skill, because it's just like, things keep coming out. It's like, people keep throwing books onto the market, and like I'll just listen to those and not reason at all, because hey, the person published a book, they know what they're talking about. And then when every single person is just publishing content, putting it on the internet, making things, then it makes sense that nobody would really bother. Or at least we have come from a world where it used to be necessary to do so, but to both think and to listen to people who knew what they were doing, because so few people could actually look up something. It's kind of like, we've talked about the archaeologist looks at the pyramids, has to make a guess of what it is, and if it's like, that they probably know what's best. Let's go with that for now.
Yeah.
You had to do that. Now we can know better.
And I was thinking it does reflect like the authorship authority from being a child to looking at adults and thinking like, oh, adults know what they're saying, I should listen to them. But then when adults are reflecting back to the kid that nothing I do matters,
yeah,
then that kid's gonna stop listening because they're like, well, this, even if they don't
and then just
consciously do it, they're just gonna be like this. They just reflect back to the parent again that
exactly the same thing. Perpetuate exactly what the parent is not doing, which is having developed their skills to do life. Yeah. And then you end up in these cycles. And it's fancy.
Yeah.